Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Asura at Asura MBTI, and first of all, I just wanted to apologize for the lack of videos for the past month or so. I know I just got my MBTI certification, but I also just recently decided to go back to college, and I'm going to be majoring in psychology, and that is going to be a lot of what is on my mind for the next months or years as I work to obtain my degree. I am still going to be doing MBTI stuff, but I just want you all to know that I have to prioritize my school first. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so today's video is on the ENTP, or the visionary. Now, I also like to call the visionary, or the ENTP, the explorer, and sometimes even the inventor. That's because ENTPs lead with their intuition, and I'm going to go into that in just a minute when I go into their cognitive functions. But ENTPs overall are known for their creative ideas and being very expressive about those ideas. The ENTP leads with extroverted intuition. They have secondary introverted thinking, tertiary extroverted feeling, and repressed introverted sensing. Now, the ENTP is a dominant perceiving type, as they are an EP type. Extroverted intuition is a perceiving function, thus they are going to be perceptive first. They are going to be more relaxed and less worried about schedules and deadlines and things such as that. I'll go into that a little bit more as I discuss the functions in depth. As always, before I go on, I want to talk a little bit about stereotypes and MBTI. Now, the ENTP is known as the visionary. That does not mean every ENTP you come across is going to be some magnificent, idea-driven person. They're not just going to be spewing forth creative ideas all over the place. It's going to mean that intuition is their primary source of energy. It's their primary and preferred way of interacting with the world. I just want you to take that point home with you more than anything else in these videos, is that the titles and stereotypes attached to each type are not always going to be true. They're not going to be perfectly 100% accurate for every single person of that type. Every person within every type is unique. Sociable, creative, quick-witted, charismatic, energetic. All of these words can be used to describe the average ENTP. ENTPs are usually very known for being very creative and outgoing. They're going to be the ones at the forefront of the conversation. When you're in a meeting room or an office, the ENTPs are the ones speaking their ideas. They're the ones who are speaking up. They want to express what they know. They want to change. They want to make a change in the world around them. ENTPs are the ones who are going to want to make something new instead of sticking to what is, and that comes from their dominant extroverted intuition and their preference for using that over repressed introverted sensing. Now, ENTPs are often going to be very focused on the future. They're going to be very focused on what could be. They're not very focused on what currently is, because everything has room for improvement. One weakness of the ENTP, though, is that they're generally always searching for these improvements, but they're not always going to be willing to pull through with those. And again, I'll have to go into that a little bit more later, but this comes from their preference for the P at the end of their four letters. And Ps tend to be a little bit more willing to leave things open. They're going to be more willing to not make a decision on something right away. They want to leave time and room for improvement. All right, let's go ahead and start with extroverted intuition. Now, extroverted intuition is an expressive perceiving function focused on the future and ideas. Now, extroverted intuition also notices the connections between things. It notices how one thing is related to another, and it's going to notice where those things can go. Now, the difference between extroverted intuition and introverted intuition is that introverted intuition is more so going to be about probability. It's going to be about what is going to happen, while extroverted intuition is going to be more so focused on what could happen, what could be in the future, what are changes that can be made, what are improvements that can be focused on in the world around us, what are problems that we can make new and creative ways to fix, how can we change what we already know is. Now, this is generally the entire energy focus for ENTPs with their extroverted intuition. They find energy in being expressive about their ideas. My sister is a dominant extroverted intuitive type, and she will go from one idea to the next, and from that one to the next, and that one to the next, and it'll have been like 2 minutes, and she's had 7 different ideas. And that's just kind of what extroverted intuition likes to do. It finds energy in that process. again, the energy focus for extroverted intuitive dominance is expressing these ideas, and it's not going to be so much focused on making sure these ideas are implemented. One example I can give is imagine a group full of extroverted intuitives, whether it be ENTPs, ENFPs, in a group trying to come up with a business idea. If it was only extroverted intuitives, they might sit in that office for 1 hour throwing out idea after idea after idea, and they'd walk out and go, that was really good. We came up with a lot of ideas, and they might not have decided on an idea. You could walk in and look at the whiteboard, and it could be chock full of ideas. It would be just, there's an idea over here, an idea over there, and they could all be really good. And there would probably be ideas stemming from each idea. And that's an important part to remember with extroverted intuition, is it's always going to be willing to go from one idea to the next, whereas introverted intuition tends to focus on one idea. I would very much like to point out that this does not always mean that ENTPs are going to be indecisive, because that's not what it is. To them, it's more so they want to be able to leave things open. They like the idea of leaving room for improvement. They don't want to decide before they have another idea that could be thrown out to the world. They want to make sure that every idea they have is kind of mastered, but they do it through progressing through ideas. And instead of focusing on one idea and focusing if this is going to be the one that they want to refine and perfect, they're going to throw out maybe a couple of ideas at once and then compare those ideas. And they, again, find energy from this. This is exciting to them. This is what they enjoy doing. From a communicational standpoint, this can be a weakness in the ENTP, though. And I'm going to use another business setting example for this. So imagine in that scenario earlier where people are throwing out ideas. To a lot of other types, the ENTP is going to be moving too fast. They're going to be changing from idea to idea before everyone else has a chance to catch up. And while some other types and people are going to like the idea of looking at one focus or idea for now, the ENTP is not going to enjoy doing that, because that's again coming from their repressed side. They don't want to stick to what is, even if it's an idea that they just had. They always want to be free to move on. So this can be a communicational problem when referring or talking to other types, because the ENTP isn't going to leave them time to catch up or to analyze an idea that has potential. All right, so let's move on to introverted thinking in the ENTP. So introverted thinking in the ENTP is going to be the background or supporting actor to extroverted intuition, and it's going to be what tends to drive them towards more logical pursuits than the ENFP, for example. This doesn't mean that ENFPs are not going to be logical or want to have academic fields. This just means that ENTPs are going to be more likely to enjoy these types of things. So this introverted thinking in the ENTP is going to be what causes them to stop and fact check an idea when they're ready to. Again, extroverted intuition likes to be very open, so it's not going to be as often that they're going to want to stop and analyze an idea. One thing about introverted thinking, though, is that when it attaches itself to a fact or an idea, it's likely going to hold that idea or fact very strongly. And this can be a problem later on when it turns out that that idea or fact may have been a subjective idea or fact and doesn't exactly have objective backing. But that's beside the point for now. So this introverted thinking is going to be what causes them to analyze their own ideas when they're ready to. All right, so on to tertiary extroverted feeling. Now, tertiary functions, no matter the type, are always going to be the ones that are a little weird, because they tend to be present in the personality, but not overly present. So with ENTPs, a lot of times you're going to notice that they're friendly and warm on the outside. You're going to notice their extroverted feeling. You might even notice it over their introverted thinking, but when you really get to know them, that introverted thinking side is going to be stronger than that extroverted feeling. They're going to be usually calm and analytical, they're going to be logical, but they're going to be kind of expressive, because extroverted intuition and extroverted feeling are what's shown on the outside. And it's going to be easier for them to go up to people and be expressive with their emotions than someone who has introverted feeling. So what this comes down to is that ENTPs are generally going to be good people persons, because extroverted feeling is not repressed like the INTP. They might resort to extroverted feeling during times of stress, but it's not as likely. And we're going to go into the stressors of the ENTP in a moment when we talk about introverted sensing. So repressed introverted sensing in ENTPs is kind of a weird thing. ENTPs often view their introverted sensing as an anchor because they think that reality and being tied to facts and details is weighing them down. They don't like to be stuck in the now. They don't like to be stuck in the facts. And this is going to present itself when they have ideas and then someone says, well, that idea can't work because of this reason. And ENTP might lash out because of this. They might say, you're not going to allow my creativity to flow because you're trying to weigh me down. Why can't you just see things from my perspective? And it's going to be hard for ENTPs to get along with some people because of this, especially types who are more S dominant. ENTPs, again, view this introverted sensing as an anchor, and I'm going to say that over and over again because that's really what it is to them. They don't like to be tied down. They want that freedom of movement. As we said earlier, they like to be able to leave things open to discussion. They want to be able to go from one idea to the next. And if, they're ready to go on to the next idea, but someone's tied the ball and chains with one idea that everyone else is talking about, it's going to be hard on the ENTP. They're going to feel restricted. It's like they're suffocating. They want to be able to be expressive, and this is going to be hard when they're already tied down to something. Repressed introverted sensing can also express itself as a accidental ignorance of their immediate surroundings. And for this, I'm going to use a story that Elizabeth Murphy told me, and she is a master MBTI practitioner who taught me in my certification class for the MBTI. And her story was that at one point she was preparing for a meeting or something in the morning, and she had taken a shower and she was getting ready to dry her hair, and her hair dryer wouldn't work. She thought it was broken. So at that point she began to panic, and her extroverted intuition led her to start thinking of creative ideas of what she could do with her hair. She was like, oh, maybe I could design it this way or put it up this way. And she was already beginning to work with her wet hair, trying to come up with a hairstyle that would work on the spot. And then she looked down and she realized that the hair dryer wasn't plugged in. And that's a really big point when you're talking about people who have intuition in their upper function stack, is that they're going to be less interested in what is going on immediately around them, to a point where they might even be ignorant of it on accident. All right, that's all the time I have for this video, and I hoped this video helped you understand the ENTP a little bit more. And I want to really stress that MBTI is about energy. It's not about what you can and cannot do. So if you're an extroverted intuitive dominant, you're going to find energy in being expressive with your ideas, and you're not going to have a lot of fun by looking at the facts and details. But that's something we can learn from using the MBTI. We can learn that sometimes we do have to pay attention to those details, or if we're an S dominant, sometimes we should be expressive and open to ideas. All right, so that's all I have this time. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. And if you have any video suggestions, please feel free to leave them below. Have a good one.